Hi everybody, it's Lisa Marie here. Hi my sweet lifers. I hope you guys are having a sweet week. We are still working on this Journeys of Goodbye book, and today I've got a super good treat for you guys. Today, Satavia is here. This is Satavia. We've talked all about Satavia and all these other interviews, and Satavia's my sweet dear friend.
Aww.
And she's been with me in the studio for 16 years, and I just love her to pieces. She is family. And so when she asked me to be a part of this book, of course I said yes. And so today we are here hanging out with the one who got it all pulled together, Satavia.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I am more than delighted to be here and feel very fortunate to be here with you.
This has been a really cool project, I have to tell you. I think that a lot of people are going to find so much value. So many golden nuggets are in here. The people that you've collected together, your friends and doctors and nurses and family, just really impressed me. I mean, so many wonderful, and you guys are watching it. You've been watching it on the channel. You're going through and meeting the authors. We're doing our book signing November the 1st. Yeah.
Yes.
And we're doing it, and I missed we all know because I told you 2 or 3 times I was in between Mississippi and Texas and no reception when we had our last meeting. What's the name of the venue?
The Fountain of Praise Church, which I feel very fortunate is my church home.
Okay.
On Hillcroft here in Houston, Texas.
Okay, so it's not Missouri City.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not Missouri City.
So y'all ignore all the videos that I told you it was in Missouri City.
Yeah.
Now we're with the Queen here. She's in charge. So it's going to be in Houston.
Houston, the Fountain of Praise Church. Pastor Remus Wright and co-pastor Mia Wright.
Do we have a time for that yet?
Yes, 1:30 is your registration and book pickup time, and we're going to start our panel discussion at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And so we're going to have a forum. We're going to have, of course, all of the authors from the Journeys of Goodbye, but along with us, we're going to also have a panel of licensed psychologists, therapists, and counselors.
Okay.
And then in the lobby afterwards, when the authors come outside and we get ready to sign our books, I'm going to have our vendors there. So we've invited a slew of funeral homes, cremation companies, hospice companies, home health companies, therapists, social workers, just a slew of vendors that cater to people at the end of life. We're going to have New York Life there. We're going to have estate planners there. So it's more than just about the book.
Right.
You know, like I really want people to walk away from the book with the tools for success. Meaning like everything that you need to prepare for this and not wait. Like I think that the book signing and the panel discussion is going to be for a myriad of people. Like you don't have to be, the daughter of someone with dementia.
Right.
You are a human.
Right.
And you're going to experience end of life, and everyone needs to prepare for the future.
Yeah, and that's come up several times during the course of talking to everybody. You know, so many people are, and so many people aren't.
Yeah.
And, and over again, we've talked about it for years. It's like, and I'll mention it again in this video because some of y'all are going to hop and skip on my channel and not going to take all the videos in from the series. But, we get all prepared for all these babies.
Mm-hmm.
I say it over and over again. Of course, I spent 27 years shooting babies and pregnant naked women, right? And so everybody's all excited about that, but then people don't in our culture want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about death and dying. They don't want it's not taboo's the wrong word, but they don't feel comfortable. It's an uncomfortable thing.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that I love about being a part of this project is to try to normalize the fact that when we are born, we're all going to go.
Yes.
So we got to kind of know that, not morbidly, but just make a game plan.
Sure. I think by default, people feel like it's morbid. And like, even for me, even when we got ready to do the project, when I was working with various, they call them writing coaches, I would say that there were several writing coaches and people that were like, oh, I don't think I'm meant for the project.
Really?
And I feel like it was because they felt it was morbid. They felt like, oh, I don't do that kind of thing. And in my brain, it's like, it's writing. I'm going to do the writing. You're not writing. Right. And they didn't even really feel comfortable dibbling and dabbling in that kind of topic. And I was so convinced that it's because it's not it's not hot, it's not sexy, it's not, it's not what people consider fun. But just like the famous book, when you're having a baby, what is it called?
What to expect
when you're expecting. Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned in my journey in hospice is that, people are so taken aback by what they see, taken aback by what's happening, that there's no textbook way for this. There's no book that says this is how it's going to go. So the more experienced you are, the more stories you've heard, not to say you have to take it on and say, oh, that's how my story is going to be, because none of our stories are identical. Yeah. But at least when you're experiencing it, you have an idea. You're not so shocked. Even with the grief process, sometimes I'm with families and it doesn't matter if it's the family of a 90-year-old or a 109-year-old. We've had 116-year-olds. Families are still taken aback when their loved one passes. And so many times you can become jaded, and it's like, well, what did you expect?
Right.
You didn't really expect to live forever, right? And I don't think anyone thinks they're going to live forever, but no one really wants to face that whole space ahead of time. And I think facing it ahead of time is what's going to give you that peace. And as a believer, I think that when people have something to look forward to, they, from what I've saw, it has allowed them the opportunity to have that acceptance and that peace, and it allows their families to have that same experience. So while no one is ever jazzed about it, there are times, and you'll even see in the book, where people are ready to graduate. Like a lot of times we call it in hospice a graduation. There we have a hospice graduate, and guess what? That can be you graduated off service because of the TLC that you received was so amazing that you did better and you no longer needed hospice. You didn't meet criteria anymore. Or you graduate and you go on to heaven. And I think that if we could ever get people to see that either way it's a graduation, either way it is a elevation to the next step in your journey. So,
well, and people don't. I mean, and we've talked about this a gazillion times, y'all, because of seminary, and y'all have been with me for 5 years. For me, death has been a part of my life, my whole life. And the big death. It's not just the little death, it's the big death. Everybody's big death, aside from, like, obviously losing a child or something like that, is when their mama dies.
Yes.
And so, when mama got killed when I was 8 years old, that completely changed the trajectory of my decisions or thoughts or whatever about death from that point on. So when people would come see me and they're like in their 60s and their mama's still alive and she's in her 80s and she's dying, I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Look at how many years you got.
Yes.
It's not, jaded's probably not the right word, but it's like, I'm like, please.
Right.
I don't want to hear any whining about this situation, because everybody has got to go. And so I found myself over the years, a lot of people, because, I'm your photographer, a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and people were bringing me the grandparents, and we're taking pictures, and they're winking at me in the corner, wanting me to catch the picture that they're going to use at the funeral, but they don't want to tell the grandparent that that's really what they're doing. And then a couple more years go by, and they bring them back with a little bit more of an updated picture that they're going to maybe use at the funeral. Right. We don't know how long they're going to live, but they're going to keep having pictures made, but not telling the grandparents what they're doing, or the great-grandparents, or whatever. But for me, it's just, life is a blessing. Right. We don't know how long we've got.
You never know.
And that's why I always hug and kiss you when I see you, and I hug and kiss you when I leave you, because I know what that's like to have mama walk out the door and not come home.
Wow.
And for me, it's different. And in my experience with the people that have been in this book, what a neat blessing it is to have hospice, because hospice gives you the chance to say goodbye.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it. I don't know if it was your mama or if it was somebody I talked to on the couch about this. I didn't know that you could sign up for it so early. Like, I had in my mind, because it's our experience.
Sure.
And it's our experience because Brian's daddy didn't tell anybody he had leukemia. And so we find out, I get the call that hospice is headed to the house, and I'm dropping Victoria Ann and James Edward out of school, get on a plane. I got to reschedule photo shoots. We got to get to Charlotte. We fly in. He's got a hospice there. He just got sent home with hospice. Nobody knew anything. Brian's mother didn't know anything. And 5 days later,
yes,
he's gone to heaven.
And see, that's the stereotype that all hospices across the nation are combating that every single day.
Yep.
Because most times when you sit with people, still today, even though hospice has been around since the 1980s, so you're thinking, we're, what is that, 20, 30, we're 40 years in, right?
Yeah.
And so it shouldn't be such a elephant in the room kind of topic.
Right.
But it is. And people still believe that, oh, my neighbor went on hospice and they died in 3 days. The morphine killed my dad in 3 days. And that is why I spent 20 years in hospice, because I wanted to dispel that myth, because it's not true. And even when you think of, you got that, right? But the other part to that is you have minorities that also are dealing with this big bag of lack of trust in the healthcare system. So probably up until about 5 years ago, minorities were less than 8% likely to accept the hospice benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you ever get to the morphine, before you ever get to any of that, when you're looking at Black and brown people, first of all, the thought is our culture, I should say, is you're going to care for your loved one at home. Period. The church is going to heal my dad. Period. If you go on hospice, you're agreeing to this, you're not believing. Period. The doctor at the place doesn't care about you, because you're not seeing, at that time, a lot of doctors that look like you. Doesn't matter if there's tons of Black and brown doctors in the valley or in other parts of the country where you are, you're not seeing it as much. So you don't have that trust. And so now you got the morphine, now you got the church. Now you got the church, now you got the education, now you got, I don't want to put my family in a nursing home. So there's just so many myths around that are just not true. And what I wanted to do, and for me in hospice, was tell people that, which you will see throughout the book, is that some people get the gift of hospice. Because you've got people like you who loses your mom unexpected, suddenly. What do you do with that? Like, I'm sure most people would say, I wish I had one more day. I wish I had one more week with my loved one. I wish that it would not have had to be so tragic, right? So if you could put people around the scenario, give it love, give it TLC, give it comfort. And I've seen so many people get saved, right? Because they see their loved one experiencing death and dying with so much peace that they say, only God could have did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not just sign up on hospice.
Right.
It's all the services that you're going to get to ease this transition, right? And, we don't know. You could walk out the door and, a natural disaster, a car could hit someone, anything. So you just want to be prepared, and more than anything, be aware. And we've taken care of patients that 39 years old, diagnosed with some cancer that they've been married to their high school sweetheart for, 15 years. They've, finally had a baby, and they're leaving 2 or 3 kids back.
Yep.
And a spouse.
Yeah.
And it's unexpected.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, I hear stories like separate from my professional life and that, and I'm all about exercising, being fit, eating healthy, doing all these wonderful things that we should do for our bodies. But I also know that all of those things give none of us guarantees.
No.
Like, I've seen the healthiest people drop dead.
Sure.
I've seen the sickest people. I could walk in a room and think there's no way this person's going to make it to tomorrow. I'm telling my team that, we need to make sure we set up all of these, the things that we do to plan for XYZ.
Right. And
the person is alive a year later, 2 years later.
Yeah.
They're a graduate of the services. That, miracles do happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just think it's better to know than not to know what is available to you.
Yeah, I was really shocked because I was like reading all, obviously reading all these stories, and I was like, I didn't know there was a chaplain. I didn't know that you had all these different people that were a part of the project.
Yes.
It's not just somebody coming in and shooting your family up with morphine.
Right.
It's not that.
Right.
That's not what it is.
Right.
Right. And so having come in from the back end of it, right, and of course I should know better anyway because my dad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse, but obviously mom died when I was little, so I didn't see her be a nurse, but you would think that I would know, but my experiences has only been this, and the reason why that's the way it was is because Daddy, not because of hospice, because he could have signed up for hospice way back when and been doing all kinds of things. But instead, he just waits until he has to have his catheter unstuck and then get sent home from the doctor. And the children are like, hey, Dad's got a hospice coming in. And we're like, what are you talking about, hospice?
Well, you don't even want to hear my thoughts on that because I had my grandmother living with me for 5 years or so.
Yeah, I know. I photographed.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You've met Mimi before. So, yeah, let me dial it back. Her being my pride and joy, and just, I don't know if I ever told you this, really, because she was retired, she was going to help take care of Matt.
Yeah.
And it was like when Matt was born, I noticed a thing happening with her that I thought was super weird. Like, something's not happening.
Yeah. And
so we started to get her, take her for different testing, and she was so sophisticated with her answers, it was kind of borderline. But fast forward, several things happened, and we realized that she had Alzheimer's, dementia, and she ends up coming to live with us. She's not keeping Matt. The nanny's keeping her and Matt, technically.
Yeah.
And she passed away on hospice, and she wasn't even on hospice a week, right? So you think like,
oh wow,
how can Satavia being in hospice? And it's not like this happened when I was early in hospice. This happened later on in hospice. I have a very good idea of what it looks like and criteria. I know it backwards and forward. And I think even for me, it was hard saying and doing that for my family. Yeah. And I felt like I'll do it. Right. Yeah. So I kind of did all the things that hospice does without having hospice. And if I dig deep enough, some of that has to do with, I didn't know how my family would accept that. I didn't know how rolling that out to them would be received. And I want to be careful to not totally put it on that because I think a part of it was me. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I also wanted that not to be the case. Well, sure. I wanted it to be that anything she needed, I could do it. Absolutely. And if I couldn't do it, I could hire somebody to do it. Absolutely. And I think that many families do that. And so right now it's a big time to educate because just because the person died 5 days later or less than a week. Yeah. That doesn't take away the fact that they were appropriate last year. Right. It doesn't take away the fact that 2 years ago they could have benefited from the services. So a lot of times we waited and the service was available to you. And sometimes it's not lack of knowledge. Surely I had the knowledge. It was choices. Right. Right. And all the barriers that we have to overcome.
I have no idea if Daddy knew. I mean, I don't have any idea. Brian's daddy. I call him Daddy. I have no idea if he knew. I mean, I don't even know if the doctor would have educated him on it. But I will tell you that no one knew that he had leukemia until the very last few days.
And so you don't know if he knew it?
I don't know if he knew he was able. He knew he was sick.
Did he know he had leukemia?
He did. But he didn't. I don't know if he knew he would have been eligible for. And then here's the other trick. If he had been eligible, he was eligible. If he had known it, how was he going to maneuver getting it without telling the family that he had leukemia? That wasn't going to happen.
Let me tell you two things there. A lot of times, and all due respect to all physicians, oncologists at times, and not really just oncologists, doctors are trained to heal.
Oh, yeah.
So this whole thought, I can remember personally myself talking to physicians about hospice, and it's like, why are you coming to talk to me?
Yeah.
You don't need to come here. And it's like, everywhere you go, it's a place to talk to someone. And that is a big point where you have to say, I can no longer treat you. And that takes a lot from a physician. That takes a lot of a different kind of
being
medicine.
a doctor's daughter and knowing the ego's involved, a lot of them have this idea that they can fix it, and that if they can't, then they're somehow less of a physician.
Yes.
And they've got a God complex.
Yes.
And those that are in oncology, less so, because they're dealing with death and dying.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are in gynecology and obstetrics, which is my situation with my family, not even going to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Sure.
I mean, he was trying to doctor us, so much so that the other doctors, like the pediatricians and all the other doctors that you would go see, are like, Dave, you deliver babies.
Let us do this.
We're your children's pediatrician. You don't need to be writing amoxicillin scripts.
I'm sure that's how the doctors feel when they're dealing with me. I bet they hate to see me come.
Well, I don't think so, but I think that you're right, though. I don't think you're right. I know you're right, because doctors don't. There's an admission that they are not able to fix.
And imagine especially if Brian's dad had the same physician, and this is someone you've been caring for 20 years. A lot of times physicians are caring for the second generation of the kids, and so they know them admitting that failure means they also have to say that to the kids, and the kid is going to be like, why can't you fix it? Listen, I had to, when it was my grandmother, the doctor that was helping me was a doctor I knew, and I low-key was kind of resentful.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, how could you let this happen? What happened here? Why couldn't you fix this? You could have done more. Even if it wasn't you, it was something somebody could have did.
In the air.
Whoever.
In the air.
Like, really, for me, everybody was to blame at that time, including myself. And none of that was the answer. So my point is, doctors have all of that to deal with.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there are some physicians that err on the side of caution. Even doctors that I have a lot of regard for, they present it in, would you be okay if I send someone to talk to you that may could help you? Like having a full, firm conversation to say, I think it's time to consider hospice is not a thing that's still very common. It's not.
It's not.
No.
Oh, I'm here to tell you it's not.
Yeah.
But I was just like, in reading the book and participating and meeting all these people that are in this project, I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I need to find out if we're eligible for that. Because, like, we are private paid, because of me being a photographer, private paid health insurance.
Yes.
So your mom, I think, is the one that had this conversation with me in part of her episode. What does it take to be eligible? How does that work? What does that look like? My will is done. Like, my will is done. What's not done is the scriptures that I want read. Everybody knows to take my wig off and put it on my Louis Vuitton. They know they're cremating me, putting me in the Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any burying me. They know certain things. Like, I need to go through the jewelry and write, this one gets this one gets that, this is who gets crystal, this is who gets china. There's specific things I need to put down on paper. And it used to be a long time ago when I was that crazy artist that you knew, where every other word was a cuss word, which nobody, has noticed.
I loved it both ways.
Well, I know, but you know what? The Holy Spirit came in when I was in seminary, and now I don't do that anymore.
Yes.
But I was originally going to have a church service, and then we were going to have a martini service with, like, Back in Black and AC/DC and Van Halen and like a very secular service and a regular church. No, it'll only be the church service. Because I wouldn't dare do that. I would not dare do that. We might play on the organ a little ditty at the very back end of something that's a little homage to AC/DC or something, if we can get somebody to do that at the church. But, I want to have it all done. I want it planned. And when I even say to Victoria or James Ever's not phased. I mean, he's in charge of the DNR. Ask the children. I think I talked to your mom or Trudy about it too. And I was like, we have to come sit down. Who's going to pull the plug?
Yeah.
Who's pulling the plug? Victoria burst into tears. Oh my God. Like, dying. I need for you to start getting that in your head. There will be a day.
Yes.
Don't know when.
Yes.
Hopefully not soon, but you need to start thinking about that we will not be here.
Well, and I think what we have to share with our kids is that I don't want to live like that. And that, God created science, God created all of these things, but at the same time, we're living longer now than we've ever lived.
Yeah.
And that's because of modern science.
Yeah.
But ideally, it's, life has a span and it has an end date. And you want to be productive. You want to be useful in society. Yeah. So if that comes to play a part, those are your wishes. I think that when we express our wishes, it makes it easier. So then James Edward doesn't have to make that decision. James Edward is not pulling the plug. Your wishes are pulling the plug. Your wishes are doing that for you. And I think that a part that goes unmentioned, which also ties into the book, is the grief and the experience of the clinicians that are behind the scenes trying to bring your kids to a place to accept their mom is dying.
Yeah.
Right? And it is helpful when you've had an opportunity to have that discussion with them, because one of the questions they're going to ask is, what would she have wanted? And it's like, oh, I don't know. Well, then that's not a thing.
We got a problem.
Yeah, because that makes it harder. So when you ask that hard question and the children or the spouse are able to say, she did always say this, then that gives the person an opportunity to reinforce your wishes, to say, okay, let me see how I can help you do it. Let me see how I could walk those steps with you.
Yeah.
Let me hold your hand through her wishes, as opposed to now we've got to dream up the wishes. And that's so heart-wrenching.
Well,
like, even when it's not your mom.
No.
You would be surprised. The nurse that really cares.
Yeah.
The social worker that really cares. They're driving home in their car crying.
Yeah.
Their heart breaks for your family. And it's tough. It's tough when you have the answers. It's tough when you don't have the answers.
I just think that I should start, and have already done so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, but now it's hitting differently. It hits differently because now that I'm the grandma, it's hitting differently. And Victoria's starting to think about stuff a little bit more than she did before. Because, when you're 20, you're invincible. When you're 27 and now you're a mama, now all of a sudden you realize you're responsible for this little baby.
It changes
and everything's pivoted, so it hits differently. But I want to make it very clear, so nobody, and I've made it clear for years, there's so many people that know that I'm to be cremated, that I'm supposed to be in the Louis Vuitton, that the wig is supposed to be on top of it at the church. That has been said so many times.
We're going to make sure that's executed.
Written in a column multiple times over the years. Yeah, there's no reasonable explanation if that doesn't happen.
Right.
And I will be unhappy with it not being that case. But it's interesting. And getting the conversation started is the hardest part. And you and I talked about that, not only in what I wrote in here, and the gift Mother gave me with letting you know where she was going with the dream, which you'll have to read the book to find out about.
Oh, that's so huge.
But it's like...
Guys, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really profound.
Well, and what's funny is that it came to me, here I am, 55 years old. She said that when I was 8 years old. And I had been in a different place until I hit seminary and heard the Holy Spirit say that to me. Don't you remember? And I was like, so many things, ahas happened during seminary. I mean, so many things.
Yeah.
Not only biblically with the word, but just in my own life with dealing with things that I was like, oh, wait a minute. Or whatever, and life, death, whatever.
See, I believe that it's such a gift when you live to a place that you see the reasoning for things. I think that's such a God thing. Like, I don't want to be overtly spiritual, but there have been times...
You're on a Christian channel.
Well, I'm just saying that... But, I think it's important for, even for people that are not believers, I think it's... let me see, how should I say that? Even for people that are not believers, you're still going to face end of life.
Absolutely.
You're 100. You could be an atheist. You could be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
End of life is a thing, and I believe that the book reaches everybody.
It does.
Whatever your belief is, because it's about end of life. It's about the nuts and bolts. It's about the good parts, the ugly parts, and just the stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough that God has allowed me to see times in my life where I'm like, what the heck, really? And fast forward, I feel so fortunate and so blessed that He's allowed me to see a glimpse of why.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's so big.
Yeah,
for me.
and for me too, because and I did not mention this in my piece, but I may not. This may be the first time I've mentioned this here. I would not be who I am if Mother had not been hit by the train.
Oh,
okay,
100%.
Would not be. Mother was Woman of the Year. Mother looks just like me. I would have lived in the shadow of her. I can still go to the same town that we grew up in. Brian and I can walk the streets. They still remember my daddy delivering the babies. They still remember Mother getting hit by the train.
Yeah.
Mother's been dead forever. Yeah. 1978. That's a long time to be dead. And for that town to still know that. I mean, people, nurses. We walked in whenever Brian's mother passed away 3 years ago, and I didn't pack a black dress. Why? I don't know, because we knew she was dying. But, you know, again, psychologically kind of didn't really want to like lock that down, because that was the last pillar of the grandparents to fall. And I was like, yeah. So I went into this little store in downtown where we're from, and she was like, oh my God, you're Dr. Evans' daughter. You look just like Lona Ann. Wow. I remember your mother. And I was like, Daddy's been dead for 20-something years. Mother's been dead for so long. But if they had lived because of who they were in the community, I would have never measured up. I would have always been this known as Dr. Evans' daughter, Lona Ann. Look, you just look like your mother. You know what I mean? And the fact that I came into my own. And I did not become a photographer to the caliber that you've known me as when Daddy was alive. I mean, James Edward I was pregnant with him when he died. He dropped dead on his 64th birthday. When I was pregnant with him, we had not moved into this house. I had not done the breast cancer, the kids' cancer. I had not been on TV. I had not gotten the column. I had not had L&D wings named after me. None of the things that I've done in my career as an adult, full-blown, here I am, Alisa, did either of them ever say.
The whole Alisa Murray.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe I ever would have done as much or would even be who I am. You know, I would have been a lot more low-key and less, here I am. Yeah. Because, you know, I didn't have to become that. Mother would have been that.
That's so good.
And I would have been behind the shadow of that.
I don't need to do that. Mom's
got it covered.
Yeah.
Because she was very much that. She was in the newspapers on children with violence on TV. She was responsible for making sure that the city school buses picked up everybody. She did the Junior Great Books Club for the library and teaching the classes to the children. I mean, she did a lot in the 33 years that she lived. I mean, 31 years that she lived, but Jesus is 33, Mother's 31. Got to remember that. That was funny. Yeah. I've been studying Jesus for so much. I got Jesus at 33. Yeah. I know I did not mess that up. Yes. Mother was 31. Yeah. But the thing is that in such a small amount of time, she did accomplish a lot. And granted, she got 3 kids here too. But the death of her, the change, like that's a thing in your mind. You're like, why would she have been killed? Well, this isn't fair. I'm mad at you. God, why'd you do this? Blah, 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 blah. 100%. I didn't have a mom. I didn't have a mom for this. I didn't have a mom for that. I didn't have a mom for my wedding. I didn't have a mom for having babies. I didn't have a mom for miscarriages. I didn't have a mom for any of these things, right? Yeah. Who the heck is supposed to prepare me for the universe if I don't have a mama? Right. And then I got prepared, right? Yeah. Because I got Nana, who lived to be 102, which we talk about a bunch on the channel, and y'all will know about her. But you know what I mean? Like, everything would have been different. And what a beautiful life He's given me. You know, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have been a photographer. Yeah. I wouldn't have moved to Texas. Hell, I might not have even married Brian.
Yeah, and I do think that your ambition and your enthusiasm about life is why, when I got ready to do the book, you're not in hospice. You're not a clinician, but you have such a gift. Like, I've ignored you for 16 years. Even when I'm having a bad conversation, you make it a good conversation. Oh, and people need that. And so many times you've shared, a conglomerate of stories with me that have been good, some not so good. And I felt like people need to hear that, and they need to hear it from someone that is as glamorous as you.
I'm not
Someone
that
that, well, no, you are. You are a well-known artist, photographer.
No.
Everyone in, well, let's say everyone in Sugarland that goes over to the hospitals over here, if they don't know you, they should. You've wrote in all of the columns. That is glamorous to me. And
Thank you.
but at your core, for people that don't just see you with your name on a wall, that talk to you, you've got amazing stories. Like, and so when I got ready to do the book, I was like, I so want her to be a part of it. I would say exactly why, but it's in the book. But it's really, it doesn't end up being the wow factor of your chapter. But I won't talk about it. But most of the authors, what I thought they would write about,
They did.
because I gave so much freedom, some of them wrote a little bit about it. But the way they dove into their stories and the direction they went with it is amazing, right? I mean, like, it was totally more than I had in mind.
Yeah.
It really, really was. That's why it's not just a hospice book. It is a end of life book. End of life for elderly, end of life for babies, end of life for people on the journey. It's caregiving. It's the nursing that goes along with it. It's so much. And I picture myself, right? I am an ER nurse, and I am going back to school. I'm not even 25 years old. Why God sent me to hospice is yet to be determined. I'm just saying. And I say that because fast forward to today, with my career, and everybody that knows Stark Texas, and Stark Texas going through an acquisition, then comes Journeys of Goodbye. Like, I just felt like God gave it to me as a gift. He totally used me in terms of being able to reach people and educate people and speak in a way that is not so clinical that it feels approachable and normal to people, that I wanted to still be able to advocate on behalf of clinicians, on behalf of families, on behalf of the hospice industry that I still think after all this time has a ways to go. Like, now the focus is on regulations, and it's on documentation and, you know, all of the behind the scene back office things, but the work is done at the front line. Having run a hospice agency, the work is done at the front line with your people in the field. And when you're going for a survey, it's documentation, it's about compliance, and that's the thing. You gotta have that. Like, I respect that. We were always a part of the NHPCO and TX and MHO, all of those things. It's important. You need that.
Yeah.
But you also need compassion. You also need the nurse that cares. You need the doctor that's in the IDT that wants to hear from every team member, the chaplain. Like, when you go to your team meetings, you want to hear from the chaplain. Because guess what? You've got patients that they've got spiritual demons that they're working with. It doesn't have anything to do with the heart failure. They're ready to transition, but they're looking for peace that possibly the medication can't give, you know? And what I can appreciate is when the chaplain sits at the table and she's able to share her side of the story. And if you ever get lucky enough and you have an agency that you're able to get your aide to participate, and even if it means calling in, that person that's given the bath, that's in there with the patient, they're close. They usually have a good relationship. They're talking about everything. If they don't like the daughter, if, you know, they've got somebody that they want to see that they haven't seen in a long time, they know those secrets. And that person can tell you, like, the patient is not the same. They can tell you the things you need to know. So I felt it just pouring on me that we've got to get these stories out.
Yeah.
Because it's not a story. They probably have families like I do that are like, I don't want to hear any more sad stories, right? So I wanted to create a platform so people can continue to have a voice. That's one thing that I felt that we always did well. Made sure people had a voice. If you wanted to tell a story. If you went over to a patient's house and they had bed bugs and you're like, family doesn't have money and it's hard for me to go over there because I'm afraid I'm going to, get it on my clothes and take it home to my family. You need to be with a company that's going to say, okay, we'll take the hit. We'll find a resource or we'll get the resource done to do it. You've got families still today in 2025 that struggle with getting their kids toys for Christmas.
Yeah.
Getting food on the table for Thanksgiving. Because imagine, you weren't planning not to be able to go to work 6 months ago. And you've ran through all of that money. So it doesn't mean that the people are so poor that they weren't willing to work.
Right.
Like they're not hardworking people. Or maybe they were entrepreneurs. Maybe they don't have Medicare. Maybe they're young. Maybe their job let them go and now they don't have insurance. There's so many stories that don't get told. And I just think it's important to be able to continue to share those things. But also, like in the book, you find that people are leaving their home, doing things for your family, and they've got needs too.
Yeah.
And, I read this sign, and it said, and I do talk about this a little bit in the book, the person that's caring for you has a family too.
Yeah.
So be kind.
Yeah.
And you've got situations where people refuse to put their dog up, and the nurse is there to do her job. The doctor, the nurse practitioner is there to do their job. I'm trying to get in to bathe your mom, and you don't want to put your dog up. So it's like reminding us, and guess what? I still say maybe that's just a part of control that they can have, to not put their dog up because their mom is dying. And it's like, I don't have control over that. So by golly, I'm going to let my dog do what my dog wants to do. Like, people are dealing with so many things at different levels that they're not able to express and articulate. And I just think that you've got to figure out how to be kind to the clinician too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've got to figure that out. And it's hard. And it's our job to make sure when we're there to put our needs aside, right? You have to be able to, the good clinicians that work in home care, they're real, because you got to become really good at cutting it off.
Yeah.
Because you could very easily carry it with you. So when you get someone that cares, they're taking your trouble back with them.
They are.
So be kind. Be kind. Even though you want to be snappy. Even though it's like, you're the last person I want to be nice to. I mean, they just told me about you. And they said, my mom is dying. I don't want to see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why it's so important to get care earlier. That's why it's so important for us to educate ourselves. Like, we're living in a day and time now with AI, Chat GPT.
Girl.
We are living in a time that we can equip ourselves. We can say, Mama's doing X, Y, Z. What services are available to me? And Copilot, I don't know, my son Matt, he's got Copilot, and Copilot's got a name on his phone. It could tell you all the things to do. And I just encourage people to explore all your resources. Know what your resources are. Even if you're not ready to pull the trigger, just know.
Being aware is important.
And hospice is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Hospice companies are admitting patients 7 days a week. So you don't have to wait to, I've heard a zillion times there, I'm waiting to my appointment, and it's, I go to the doctor on September the 29th. And it's like, well, we're going to wait till September the 29th. Many things, just like time kills deals, time is of the essence when you're sick.
Yeah.
Especially when you're sick. Yeah.
Well, I want you guys to get this book. I'm going to show you in the episode notes where to get this book, how to get this book. If you are ordering it online, there'll be a lot of links with all the different episodes, which we've talked about with the other episodes. Satavia's in charge of all of that. She's getting everybody organized with that. The other thing is, if you can make it to that church.
Yes. And it's a conference, and it's a panel discussion, and it's called Journeys of Goodbye. It's a forum on planning to parting and everything that's in between. Like I said, we're talking suicide, we're talking losing babies, we're talking about infertility, we're talking about caregiving, we're talking about all the things. Yeah. So, and resources are going to be there and available to you for you to get information. So I strongly encourage you to come out. You can actually register on www.journeysofgoodbye.com. The book is also on there as well. So you'll be able to purchase the book on Amazon, or you can purchase the book on Journeys of Goodbye, but mainly register for your ticket. It's free to come. I would like for you to have a book to come, but you could always get the book when you're there if you feel led, but it's $0 registration fee. Come out. I think you're going to love it. No doubt everyone needs it. No doubt. There's not a person that can come that you won't have something there that you can have as a takeaway for you.
Yep. So, well, I hope you guys have found some value in this. As always, if you did, do us a favor, like and share, and we'll see you next time on this beautiful channel called Living the Sweet Life.
Yay!
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you for having me. You know I love you too.
Okay. See you soon, guys.
Thanks.